Hi, I'm Mina.
And I'm Yules.
Thanks for tuning in to Artificially Informed.
Welcome back to the deep dive. This week, we are charting a course through some of the most complex and rapidly changing dynamics on the planet.
We really are.
Our sources have tracked everything from medical breakthroughs that could redefine how we treat chronic disease, all the way to, these huge shifts in global technology.
And of course, the volatile geopolitical conflicts that are reshaping the international order in real time.
It's a classic deep dive, isn't it?
It really is.
Yeah.
You have the highest highs of human innovation, think fusion energy and brain rejuvenation, and then they're juxtaposed against these grim realities.
Corruption, escalating political aggression.
And immediate threats to public safety. Our mission today is to move beyond the headlines, connect these seemingly, separate events, and give you the full picture.
The comprehensive understanding of what truly matters in this noisy world.
Exactly.
That's right. We aren't just summarizing, we are digging into the mechanisms and the implications. So let's unpack this immediately. Let's start where the change is arguably most profound. The frontiers of human health and what we're learning about our own biology. We're kicking things off with oncology and a truly significant, maybe even surprising set of findings related to cancer treatment. Research is highlighting key cannabis compounds. We're talking cannabidiol, CBD, and tetrahydrocannabinol, or THC.
Right.
And they're demonstrating significant efficacy against aggressive ovarian cancer cells.
Yeah, and this is more than just, anecdotal evidence or some general sense of wellness.
This is hard science.
It is. The researchers focus specifically on how these compounds interact with the cellular mechanics of ovarian cancer.
And what did they find?
They found that the combination of CBD and THC, it seemed to work synergistically.
Okay.
They actually observed it actively slowing cell proliferation and dramatically reducing the formation of cancer colonies, at least in vitro.
So it's basically jamming the cancer's internal communication lines.
That's a great way to put it, yes.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting for you. Because the standard of care conventional chemotherapy is just devastating.
It's brutal.
The breakthrough detailed here is the crucial finding of minimal toxicity observed toward healthy, non-cancerous cells.
And that is fundamentally the holy grail of cancer treatment, isn't it?
It has to be.
Chemotherapy is just a blunt instrument. It kills fast-dividing cells, which, unfortunately includes hair follicles, blood cells, the lining of your digestive tract.
Everything.
And ovarian cancer is notoriously aggressive. It's often diagnosed late, which makes a targeted therapy absolutely essential.
So if this specificity holds up in human trials,
Right.
where the compounds actively target the malignancy while leaving the healthy tissue alone,
Then it completely changes the cost-benefit analysis of treatment. It pushes these cannabis-derived treatments firmly into, the domain of core oncology.
moving them past being just palliative or complementary solutions.
Exactly. It becomes a frontline option.
A potential systemic shift in medicine. Amazing. All right, moving from cancer to another major global health challenge. Chronic debilitating pain. Let's talk about osteoarthritis.
OA, yeah. It affects over 240 million people globally.
A staggering number. And there's a novel regenerative approach using stem cells called SN101.
This is a major advancement because SN101, it's not designed as just a pain management tool.
Okay, so it's not another painkiller.
No, it's positioned as a disease-modifying therapy. And to understand why that matters, you have to look at traditional OA treatment.
Which is what? NSAIDs?
Mostly, yes. Non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, or NSEs, and corticosteroids. They manage symptoms, the pain, the inflammation, but they do nothing to halt or reverse the underlying disease.
They're a bandage.
A temporary one at that.
So how exactly does SN101 aim to modify the disease? What's the mechanism by which these stem cells actually repair damaged cartilage?
That's the critical detail. The stem cells introduced via SN101, they have this kind of dual function. First, they are highly potent anti-inflammatories. They regulate the local immune response, and they reduce the production of pro-inflammatory cytokines.
Which are the chemical signals that cause the pain and swelling in the joint?
Precisely. And second, and this is the really important part, they're regenerative.
Regenerative how?
They either differentiate themselves into new chondrocytes, those are the cells that form cartilage, or they release these powerful growth factors that stimulate the body's own existing cells to repair the damaged tissue.
So it's literally attempting to rebuild the joint from the inside out.
That is exactly what it's trying to do.
The implication here is enormous, and not just for patients' mobility.
No, it's much bigger than that.
If we can genuinely treat chronic joint pain by regenerating the tissue, we simultaneously reduce the dependency on opioid-based pain management.
Which is a massive, massive problem. This offers a powerful, non-addictive, systemic alternative, a huge boon in the ongoing global addiction crisis.
Exactly. The focus shifts entirely from just masking suffering to actually restoring function.
The data that was presented at the International Society for Stem Cell Research Symposium suggests this approach provides comprehensive joint care.
A genuine path toward a better quality of life.
A real one, yes.
Incredible. Okay, next, let's look inward. Let's look at the brain. We have some fascinating research using advanced MRI techniques.
Magnetic resonance imaging, yeah.
They analyzed thousands of individuals and showed that adopting specific lifestyle changes can make the brain appear, on average, a stunning 8 years younger.
An 8-year rewind. It's incredible. And this research, it really reinforces the idea that brain aging is not some fixed, linear process dictated purely by your genetics.
We have some control.
A lot of control, it seems.
Yeah.
It identifies 4 core modifiable lifestyle factors that, when optimized, correlate with vastly improved structural integrity in the brain.
Which are? Tell me the 4 factors. I need the manual immediately.
I think we all do. They are. Cultivating an optimistic attitude, consistently achieving restorative sleep, practicing effective stress management, and finally, actively maintaining strong social connections.
Optimism and social connections. I mean, that sounds a little like the kind of wellness advice you see on a fridge magnet.
I know, it does sound a bit soft.
Does the MRI research show actual, measurable physical changes to the brain? Or is this just a correlation between feeling good and, looking young on a scan?
That's a fair challenge, but the power of this research is in the objective, measurable data.
Okay.
The MRI techniques they used were looking at metrics like cortical thickness, white matter integrity, overall brain volume, all physical proxies for brain health that typically decline with age.
So real structural things.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And individuals who excelled in all 4 of those factors demonstrated physical characteristics statistically similar to people 8 years their junior.
It's hard evidence.
It is. It's hard evidence that these behavioral choices drive physical neuroplasticity.
That is a profound finding. It suggests we have a surprising degree of agency over our own cognitive lifespan.
We do.
But if those factors help us, what happens when they fail? That connects directly to the other study, the one on mental health and immune resilience.
Precisely. This study found a direct mechanistic link between the severity of anxiety and chronic insomnia, and sharp, measurable drops in crucial immune cells, specifically the natural killer immune cells, or NK cells.
We hear about NK cells all the time, but just remind us, why are they so vital?
NK cells are the frontline troops of our innate immune system. They're fast-acting, they don't require prior exposure to a pathogen.
So they're the first responders.
Exactly. Their main job is immune surveillance. They recognize and destroy compromised cells, whether they're infected with a virus or they are abnormal cells showing early signs of being a tumor.
Okay, so why are these critical cells so susceptible to anxiety and poor sleep? What's the mechanism that connects psychological stress directly to this part of our immune system?
The connection runs through the endocrine system. When you experience chronic stress or severe anxiety, your body floods the system with stress hormones. Primarily cortisol, yes.
Yeah.
And sustained elevated cortisol levels have been shown to directly suppress the production and the activity of NK cells.
Wow.
And then on top of that, poor non-restorative sleep prevents the necessary immune repair and reorganization that typically happens overnight.
So it's a double whammy.
It is. The anxiety activates the stress response that suppresses the cells, and the insomnia prevents the recovery needed to replenish them.
It's definitive proof then. Mental health interventions are not optional.
Not at all. They are absolutely critical for physical well-being and immune defense against everything from the common cold to potentially early cancer development.
That is a powerful and very practical takeaway. Okay, let's pivot quickly into material science. We're shifting from the body to the surfaces we interact with. There's a big technological leap coming out of Sweden regarding light-printed electrodes.
This is a really clever innovation that addresses a major pain point in electronics manufacturing: the use of hazardous chemicals. These Swedish researchers developed a breakthrough method for creating high-performance electronic electrodes using simple, visible light and, water-soluble monomers.
Meaning they are creating conductive plastics, but without the caustic, complex chemical baths that are traditionally required?
Exactly. The technological leap is twofold. It's cleaner and it's much more flexible.
How so?
They can print these conductive plastics directly onto incredibly diverse surfaces. We're talking standard glass, flexible textiles for clothing, or even living skin.
On living ski.
On living skin.
Yeah.
All in a completely safer, chemical-free process that just bypasses all those hazardous traditional fabrication steps.
This sounds like a complete game changer for two fields in particular: wearable technology and biomedical devices.
It absolutely does. I mean, imagine biomedical sensors for continuous patient monitoring that are just printed onto a patient's forearm with high resolution.
Or smart textiles that are entirely manufactured in a water-based solution.
Right. This innovation promises to dramatically reduce manufacturing costs, decrease environmental waste, and just accelerate the integration of electronics into our physical world.
In ways that were previously limited by safety and, I suppose, material compatibility?
That's right. It opens up a lot of new possibilities.
Okay, moving from scientific promise to, well, corporate volatility. Let's talk about a major downfall that really feels like the end of a technological era. The collapse of iRobot Corporation, the maker of the iconic Roomba vacuum cleaner.
Yeah, iRobot filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection. This is a painful but honestly necessary step after years of financial turmoil.
Whoa, went wrong.
Crippling debt, and just incredibly intense competition in consumer robotics. The market for autonomous home cleaning just exploded.
And iRobot, the pioneer, they just failed to adapt quickly enough to cheaper, more feature-rich competitors.
They did. But the definitive nail in the coffin, really, was the failed acquisition by Amazon.
That was a $1.7 billion deal. It was blocked specifically due to major antitrust scrutiny. But why was a vacuum cleaner company considered a monopolistic threat?
That is the critical insight. It wasn't just about market share in the vacuum world.
No.
No. The primary concern raised by the European Commission and our own Federal Trade Commission, the FTC, was the control of data.
Data, of course.
A Roomba doesn't just clean. It maps the interior of users' homes with incredible precision.
Ah, so Amazon acquiring that specific proprietary interior mapping data, the layout of millions of private homes, that would have given them an insurmountable advantage.
An insurmountable advantage in the smart home ecosystem and targeted advertising.
Exactly.
The regulators feared Amazon would leverage that data to dominate the smart home market far beyond just vacuums.
And that blockage left iRobot critically low on cash and saddled with debt it couldn't service. It forced the restructuring.
And now the company will be taken over by its main supplier, Shenzhen PICEA Robotics. It marks a symbolic end to the era of independent American innovation in that specific consumer robotics space.
A fascinating case study in how big tech's hunger for data is now the primary trigger for antitrust action.
Absolutely.
And speaking of volatility, there's the swift closure of the Mesa Homeowners Card.
Yes.
A financial product designed to reward users for mortgage payments. It lasted barely a year.
This really raises questions about the sustainability of these highly niche financial products.
The concept was appealing, though. Linking daily spending rewards directly to a massive liability like a mortgage.
It was. But the rapid contraction suggests they fundamentally miscalculated the economics, or the regulatory environment, or just the sheer operational complexity involved.
Fintech innovation has to balance the excitement with financial practicality.
Always.
Okay, now let's transition to the bleeding edge of the autonomous and AI frontier. Tesla has begun testing unsupervised robotaxis in Austin, Texas.
Supervised.
That means no human safety drivers.
This is Elon Musk doubling down on the long-promised vision of full autonomy. The promise is, cheaper, more sustainable urban transport.
Transforming the city grid.
But we have to weigh that against the very real public safety concerns.
The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, or NHTSA, is watching this service very closely.
As they should be.
And reports are already circulating, detailing some troubling behavior, erratic, illegal lane changes, braking prematurely, just general confusion.
And this is happening unsupervised. It's a very high-stakes experiment operating on public roads, and it raises a profound ethical question about the acceptable margin of error.
Right.
Until these systems can demonstrate statistical superiority over human drivers across all conditions, the public's tolerance for even minor accidents, let alone a major incident, is understandably very low.
Contrast that immediate volatility with a more controlled yet equally ambitious leap in energy. FIA Energy's innovative Helios fusion power plant design.
Fusion energy. The clean power source that has famously been 30 years away for the last 70 years.
Exactly. So why should we believe this private entity can achieve a 2030s timeline and beat decades of dedicated public research? What makes Helios different?
That's the challenge the private sector is embracing. Complexity reduction. Through design and through AI.
Okay.
Helios uses all planar electromagnetic coils. This is dramatically simpler to build and maintain than those incredibly complex twisting stellarator coils that are just notoriously difficult to manufacture.
And the second key feature?
The integration of advanced AI-powered control systems.
So the AI isn't just a gimmick here, it's integral to the whole operation.
It's absolutely essential. Fusion reaction stability is the hardest problem to solve. AI can analyze plasma dynamics and make micro-adjustments in milliseconds.
Something no human operator could match.
Not even close. It allows them to enhance operational efficiency and, critically, reduce the overall cost of construction and maintenance.
So they are aggressively forecasting delivering their first fusion electricity by the mid-2030s.
They are. And their interim step is smart. They have a medium-scale neutron source called EOS.
And that's for what?
To validate technologies and produce radioisotopes for medical applications, it gives them a realistic revenue path while they chase the ultimate goal.
That's a significant strategy. Build revenue streams while you're chasing the impossible. Very clever. Sticking with AI and technology, we have a significant geopolitical note on NVIDIA and its advanced H200 chips.
Yes, NVIDIA is ramping up production of its advanced H200 AI chips, specifically because of surging demand from Chinese technology companies.
And this follows recent U.S. government approval for those sales, despite all the ongoing trade and tech tensions.
It really highlights the delicate balancing act for U.S. policy, doesn't it?
It does. They're trying to restrict technological leaps by a key strategic competitor, China, while simultaneously benefiting from massive export revenues.
Right. And China's domestic chip production is increasing, but they still can't match the specialized high-performance capabilities needed for true AI model training.
Which compels them to rely on U.S. components.
It underscores the profoundly interconnected nature of the global semiconductor supply chain. A complete technological decoupling right now is, well, it's nearly impossible.
Okay, before we plunge into the volatility of global politics, let's just lift our gaze for a moment.
A little palate cleanser.
Exactly. A brief but welcome celestial event reminder. The Geminid meteor shower is reaching its peak.
And we're expecting favorable viewing thanks to clear skies and minimal moonlight. It's a nice cosmic break after discussing fusion power and AI chips.
It really is.
It reminds you that even as we build these increasingly complex systems here on Earth, the universe just continues its relentless, massive dance.
We also have a near-Earth flyby scheduled for Comet 3I Alice.
That's right, passing within about 1.8 million miles around December 19th. A chance to appreciate the astronomical rather than the financial.
I like that. And from the cosmos back to our screens, let's quickly note a user habit shift. Meta is discontinuing the standalone Facebook Messenger desktop app.
Yeah, they're shifting users entirely to the Progressive Web App, or PWA model, accessible via your web browser.
This move, it reflects a broader industry trend, doesn't it? Streamlining service delivery, prioritizing web-based solutions.
It does. It saves development time for Meta, but it often frustrates the power users, the ones who preferred that fully integrated desktop experience.
All right, now we transition to the political earthquakes shaking the global stage. We start in Eastern Europe with Ukraine. President Volodymyr Zelensky has signaled a significant strategic pivot regarding NATO membership.
He's demonstrating a difficult, but I think a pragmatic flexibility. He has indicated a willingness to drop Ukraine's goal of NATO membership.
But there's a big condition.
A very big one. If, and only if, Western allies provide extremely robust, concrete security guarantees immediately.
This is a massive compromise. I mean, Ukraine has anchored its post-2014 identity on the aspiration of joining the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, NATO.
To sacrifice that long-term goal for immediate, hard defense commitments, it suggests the pressure to accelerate peace talks is just immense.
And the fact that a U.S. envoy has reported progress suggests that this political flexibility, it might be the key to opening new negotiation channels.
Indeed. The conflict has been a military and financial grinder. The announcement had immediate repercussions.
European defense stocks declined.
Right. The markets perceived this shift as potentially easing long-term conflict projections, maybe leading to a faster path to a ceasefire.
even if Ukraine firmly rejects ceding any territory.
That's the line they won't cross.
However, this diplomatic tightrope walk is being severely undermined by paralyzing internal turmoil.
Yes.
Kyiv Mayor Vitaly Klitschko cited a major corruption scandal as a devastating blow to Ukraine's trustworthiness.
And this cannot be overstated. The National Anti-Corruption Bureau of Ukraine uncovered a substantial $100 million embezzlement scheme.
And it's linked directly to Zelensky's inner circle.
It is. It implicates the former justice minister, the energy minister, and a close associate named Timur Mindich. 5 current members of parliament were also reportedly linked.
The implication for the West, particularly the U.S. and the European Union, who have poured billions into assistance, is terrible.
It's awful. How can donor nations maintain domestic support for aid when there is evidence of such high-level organized fraud?
It undermines the whole system.
Klitschko's comments, reported by German media, they really highlight the deep skepticism this feeds. Oversight and accountability become paramount concerns for Western capitals.
It raises serious alarm bells about the management of these critical foreign assistance funds.
It absolutely introduces an element of risk into any long-term commitment.
Okay, turning to Russia. We have stark warnings about its global intent. The new MI6 chief, Blaise Mitroeli, is characterizing Russia in no uncertain terms.
He's calling them an aggressive, expansionist, and revisionist power that is actively threatening the international order.
And that warning is reinforced by the UK Chief of the Defense Staff, Sir Richard Knighton.
Yes, who assessed the current security situation as more perilous than anything he has encountered in his entire career. He called for a national step-up to face this peril.
So this shows a unified, high-level intelligence and defense assessment that Russia intends to actively dismantle the post-Cold War framework.
That's what it looks like. Yet Russia is actively pushing back on the narrative that it's the sole aggressor, particularly on the financial front.
Right. Kirill Dmitriev, a key Russian envoy, argued forcefully that the EU's proposed reparation loan to Ukraine, backed by frozen Russian assets,
Constitutes an unprecedented seizure of sovereign wealth. This is a complex legal and economic argument.
How so?
Dmitriev contends that this move, which essentially confiscates sovereign assets based on political disputes, threatens the fundamental stability of the global financial system
Because that system relies on the sanctity of sovereign wealth.
and the confidence that assets held in major global hubs like Euroclear won't be unilaterally seized.
So, from Russia's perspective, even if the EU views it as legitimate reparations for aggression, it sets a dangerous precedent.
A precedent that could be used against any nation friend or foe in the future. It undermines the current U.S.-led global financial architecture.
And the Bank of Russia is already initiating lawsuits against Euroclear.
A clear attempt to establish a legal counter-narrative and use the principles of international finance as a shield against what they see as financial warfare.
We also see the dark side of this conflict in the information warfare space. The Russian Federal Security Service, the FSB, is putting out a warning.
They're saying that Ukrainian intelligence is allegedly using sophisticated, coercive phone scams
To do what?
to pressure vulnerable Russian citizens into committing acts of domestic terrorism and sabotage, like arson attacks against infrastructure.
This is a chilling example of hybrid warfare where technology and psychological exploitation just meet.
It is. It involves financially scamming the victims first, exploiting their debt or their anxiety, and then, once they're compromised, coercing them into sabotage.
Sometimes even leading them to believe they are participating in some kind of secret government counterterrorism exercise.
It's pure manipulation. They're exploiting financial and psychological vulnerability to achieve real-world physical disruption.
The FSB claims to have identified up to 10 unrelated Russian citizens across 5 regions targeted this way.
It just underscores the extreme lengths to which modern conflict extends beyond traditional battle lines.
Okay, moving far across the globe now, we are observing a significant parallel rightward shift. This is epitomized by Chile's presidential election.
A huge election.
The hard-right candidate Jose Antonio Cast secured a decisive victory with 58% of the vote.
This is the most significant victory for the right wing in Chilean democracy in 75 years. It signals a potential dramatic reversal of progressive policies enacted in recent years,
Cast's platform was laser-focused on law and order, stricter immigration policies.
and directly addressing voter concerns about rising crime and economic instability that have really plagued the country.
So the narrative here is one of restoration. The electorate seems to have prioritized stability and security over continued progressive social reform.
That's how it appears. However, critics, particularly on the left, are quick to draw comparisons between Cast's rhetoric and the authoritarian ideologies of the Pinochet era.
A very dark period in their history.
A very dark period. News organizations like Telesur explicitly discuss the retorno del Pinochetismo, the return of Pinochetism, reflecting deep fears among progressive groups about the potential erosion of human rights.
It shows a deeply polarized nation grappling with its historical legacy.
Very much so.
Now, connecting this trend across the Americas, let's analyze the strong condemnation of perceived U.S. aggression near Venezuela.
Right. The LBA-TCP coalition, that's the Bolivarian Alliance for the Peoples of Our American Peoples Trade Treaty, they, alongside U.S. Senator Bernie Sanders, criticized the deployment of the USS Gerald R. Ford aircraft carrier near Venezuela.
The criticism from the left, including Senator Sanders, it centers on the allegation that President Trump is allegedly using military aggression as a distraction from significant domestic crises in the U.S.
Healthcare, economic inequality, and so on. But the core claim from LABA-TCP and others, it runs deeper.
They're alleging this military posture is driven by a thirst for foreign oil.
And that it represents a neo-colonial attempt to reestablish the Monroe Doctrine, the historical U.S. policy asserting dominance in the Americas.
They're citing historical patterns, like the overthrow of Iran's leader in 1953 after he nationalized oil resources.
To argue that the U.S. consistently targets oil-rich nations whose leadership challenges Washington's authority, this narrative frames the U.S. military presence as being fundamentally about imperial ambition and resource control.
And Venezuela's state-owned oil company, PDVSA, is actively blaming the U.S. for a recent cyber attack on its systems.
Which just fuels this narrative of hybrid aggression and resource conflict in the region. The complexity of these claims shows that the multipolar world is not just about Russia and China.
It's about localized, historically rooted tension as well.
Absolutely.
Switching now to the environment, where the climate crisis is manifesting in immediate, deadly calamities across the globe. Let's start in Safi, Morocco.
A coastal city, vital to the region, yeah.
Torrential rain and flash floods have claimed at least 37 lives.
The disaster is severe, and it really speaks to climate vulnerability. The intense downpours inundated around 70 homes and businesses, washed away 10 vehicles.
And what makes this tragedy particularly acute is the context. The severe weather was exacerbated by years of prior drought.
Right.
How does prior drought make a flood worse? That seems totally counterintuitive.
It does, but it's a crucial physical mechanism. Prolonged drought hardens the soil. It turns it almost cement-like.
Okay.
So when torrential rain finally hits, the ground just can't absorb the water effectively or quickly enough. The result is rapid, devastating surface runoff.
Flash floods.
Exactly. They cause far more damage than the same amount of rain would on healthy, absorbent soil. It's a common and very dangerous feedback loop.
And emergency teams are still struggling to locate casualties with more rain in the forecast.
Danger hasn't passed.
Equally critical, though completely different, is the situation in New Delhi and the National Capital Region in India.
Blanketed in toxic smog. The Air Quality Index, or AQI, peaked at a staggering 500 in some areas.
Categorized as severe plus.
Which is basically unbreathable for extended periods. It poses severe health risks, even to healthy individuals.
And we saw the immediate infrastructure impact too, right?
Absolutely. Near zero visibility caused massive travel chaos. Over 50 trains were delayed.
And tragically, it led to a major vehicle pileup on the Delhi-Mumbai Expressway.
10 to 12 vehicles, 2 trucks, resulting in 2 fatalities. It's a grim reminder of how environmental extremes immediately degrade public safety and cripple critical infrastructure.
Moving to long-term threats, there's a strong push from the UN Alliance of Civilizations and the COP30 conference to finally integrate ocean-related discussions into climate talks.
This is a matter of correcting a profound resource imbalance. The ocean is, statistically, our planet's most important climate regulator.
It absorbs over 90% of the excess heat generated by global warming.
And stores a huge portion of man-made carbon emissions. Yet, despite this monumental role, guess how much climate finance actually goes toward ocean initiatives?
I'm afraid to ask.
Less than 1%.
Wow.
Historically, climate finance has been heavily land-centric. And this neglect is alarming because research suggests effective ocean-based solutions, like restoring coastal ecosystems, could contribute up to 35% of the necessary emissions reductions.
And the lack of a formal, dedicated ocean agenda item in the UNFCCC, the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, means these considerations remain informal and undervalued.
Exactly. They're not taken seriously in crucial global negotiations.
And if that isn't alarming enough, we have a literal hidden danger emerging from the planet's freezer: the Arctic.
Yes.
Scientists studying melting Arctic ice have made an alarming discovery. It's revealing ancient microorganisms.
And potentially more than just microbes. The concern is that the melting permafrost and ancient ice layers are releasing massive stores of trapped organic material.
And as that material thaws,
It becomes food for microbes, which then release vast quantities of greenhouse gases like methane and carbon dioxide that have been locked away for millennia.
so we aren't just dealing with the current warming rate. We're facing a latent environmental threat that could trigger a self-reinforcing feedback loop.
Accelerating global warming far beyond current models. It's an unstoppable threat once the thaw hits a certain point.
A critical, complex risk. It really underscores the interconnectedness of all these issues.
It does.
Okay, let's pivot to urban economic policy. New York City's congestion pricing initiative, the plan to charge vehicles entering parts of Manhattan, has yielded some interesting initial results.
The main goal was, of course, to reduce vehicular congestion. But the Economic Development Corporation, the EDC, reported a fascinating secondary effect. Foot traffic in lower Manhattan rose by 4.8%. This compares sharply with a mere 1% increase in business areas outside the congestion zone.
So fewer cars mean a more pleasant pedestrian environment, which directly benefits local businesses.
It's an initiative that addresses both traffic efficiency and economic vitality, a functional model for other dense urban centers.
Now compare that progressive urban policy with a brewing regulatory conflict in Loudoun County, Virginia,
The data center hub.
a massive hub for data centers, essential for cloud computing. Why the conflict?
It centers on expanding the definition of when these data centers can use their large, polluting diesel generators.
They use them for emergency power now.
For reliability, yes.
Hmm.
But following a recent substation fire that forced them to rely on these generators for a long time, Virginia's Department of Environmental Quality, or DEQ, is considering new guidance.
And this guidance would allow their operation during planned electrical outages, not just sudden emergencies.
Exactly. Planned outages mean routine, non-emergency use, which translates to a guaranteed, measurable increase in harmful emissions.
CO2, nitrogen oxides, particulate matter.
All of it, right in the Northern Virginia area. Critics argue this severely undermines existing air quality standards, basically trading environmental health for a guaranteed tech infrastructure uptime.
It highlights that challenging conflict between the immense energy demands of modern infrastructure and the need to protect public health.
A very difficult balancing act.
We have to now address the most serious threats to public security this week, starting with the devastating terrorist attack at Bondi Beach in Sydney, Australia.
A profoundly tragic incident. It targeted a Hanukkah celebration, claiming 15 lives.
Including a child, 2 rabbis, and a Holocaust survivor.
Just awful. The immediate societal impact prompted urgent discussion within the Australian government about their nation's famously strict gun laws.
But the geopolitical tension surrounding the attack immediately complicated the domestic response.
It did. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu quickly claimed that Australia's prior support for Palestinian statehood had fostered the anti-Semitic environment that he alleged led to the attack.
That statement immediately and profoundly politicized the tragedy.
It injected global conflict sensitivities directly into a domestic security crisis, creating deep societal division right at a moment of crisis.
Meanwhile, domestic terror plots are being actively thwarted here in the U.S.
That's right. The Federal Bureau of Investigation, the FBI, announced the successful arrest of 4 suspects connected to the Turtle Island Liberation Front.
Attorney General Pam Bondi confirmed the suspects were allegedly plotting coordinated New Year's Eve bombings in Southern California,
specifically targeting federal immigration agents and their vehicles in Los Angeles and Orange County.
The plot, detailed in a document called Operation Midnight Sun, involved active planning, recruiting accomplices, and even testing improvised explosive devices.
The FBI intervened successfully before the final devices were fully assembled, preventing what could have been a devastating holiday attack.
It shows the constant, complex vigilance required to monitor and neutralize these domestic extremist groups.
Definitely.
Moving to another critical societal vulnerability, the exploitation of minors within established criminal structures. We are seeing a disturbing trend in Sweden.
A really disturbing trend regarding the recruitment of children into violent gangs. The source material highlights criminal networks, like the notoriously violent Foxtrot gang.
And they're actively recruiting approximately 1,700 minors, often through social media.
And these children aren't just peripheral members. They are groomed and used as disposable perpetrators.
And often subjected to severe torture if they fail or try to leave.
The tactics exploit societal failures. They target marginalized youth, but also kids from stable backgrounds, offering a sense of belonging, protection, and quick money.
They use drug use and online sharing of brutal acts to coerce and desensitize the minors.
It really points to systemic failures in addressing social inequality and marginalization that allow these criminal vacuums to form.
And critics argue that simply increasing punitive measures, like lowering the age of criminal responsibility, it just fails to address the root causes.
It's a much deeper problem than that.
The reality of pervasive gun violence in the U.S. also continues to haunt survivors long after the event itself. We have the poignant story of Mia Tretta.
A student at Brown University who survived the Saugus high school shooting.
Tretta was re-traumatized by an active shooter alert during her finals week at Brown.
Even though the alert proved to be a false alarm or a miscommunication, which happens frequently, the psychological response for her was immediate and debilitating.
It just illustrates the lasting, invisible psychological toll of this kind of violence on those who have lived through it.
It shows that the trauma never truly leaves public spaces, especially not educational institutions in the U.S.
Finally, let's look at accountability and dissent. Internationally, the conviction of pro-democracy Hong Kong tycoon Jimmy Lai has captured global attention.
Lai, a 78-year-old UK citizen and founder of the now-defunct Apple Daily newspaper, was found guilty of colluding with foreign forces.
Specifically, lobbying for international sanctions against Hong Kong and China. This is arguably the highest profile case under that controversial national security law.
And the conviction, seen internationally as deeply politically motivated, signals the severe crackdown on dissent and the continued erosion of press freedom and autonomy in Hong Kong.
It sends a clear message.
Very clear one.
Meanwhile, in the UK, we have an inquiry raising profound ethical questions about police conduct, specifically concerning the former spy cop, Mark Jenner.
Jenner formed a long-term, intimate relationship with an activist while he was undercover.
When we talk about police ethics, what's the critical problem here beyond the obvious deceit?
The issue is the manipulation of personal identity and deep emotional connection for state purposes. The inquiry focuses on the severe emotional harm inflicted on the target activist, who genuinely believes she was in a loving relationship.
This goes beyond simple surveillance.
Oh, way beyond. It's an invasion of the most private aspects of life. It raises profound questions about the ethical boundaries of police operations.
When does the pursuit of intelligence cross the line into state-sanctioned psychological abuse?
That's the question. The results of this inquiry will likely redefine acceptable covert police practice in the UK.
And accountability extends even to the nonprofit sector. Dr. Halima Begum, the chief of Oxfam, was forced to resign.
Following an independent review citing serious issues with her conduct, specifically concerning bullying accusations.
Given Oxfam's previous high-profile controversies regarding staff conduct, the board recognized they had no choice.
They had to act decisively to uphold accountability and maintain public trust. Her position was deemed untenable, which just underscores the intense scrutiny leadership faces in nonprofits.
Where integrity is absolutely fundamental to their mission.
It's everything.
Okay, let's quickly hit the highlights from the world of sports, starting with the significant shifts in the National Football League, the NFL playoff picture.
The biggest story, without a doubt, is the elimination of the Kansas City Chiefs from the playoffs.
A huge shock. After years of dominance and Super Bowl appearances, a season marked by inconsistency has led to them missing the cut.
It's a massive change in the American Football Conference, the AFC landscape.
On the brighter side, we saw the Buffalo Bills stage a truly significant 21-point comeback to defeat the New England Patriots 35-31.
Quarterback Josh Allen showed tremendous resilience, halting the Patriots' impressive 10-game winning streak.
Conversely, the Dallas Cowboys struggled significantly, losing to the Vikings.
Yeah, that resilient Vikings defense really shut them down, and this disappointing loss further jeopardizes the Cowboys' playoff hopes.
Meanwhile, the Baltimore Ravens delivered a decisive victory, shutting out the Cincinnati Bengals on the road,
which mathematically eliminated the Bengals from playoff contention. A highly volatile week for the AFC North.
Now for a look at market and finance notes. Let's discuss Bitcoin and the bullish confidence of Michael Saylor.
Saylor, a prominent Bitcoin advocate and executive, announced another truly massive purchase, nearly $1 billion in Bitcoin.
$980 million worth. This strategic move, funded by stock sales, increases his company's total holdings to a staggering 671,268 BTC.
That is an enormous bet on the long-term viability of the cryptocurrency. His continued aggressive accumulation suggests he anticipates an upcoming market shift.
Maybe regulatory clarity or institutional acceptance that could drive prices significantly higher.
That seems to be the bet. Shifting to policy, negotiations are ongoing in the U.S. Senate regarding the future of the Affordable Care Act, or ACA, subsidies.
The expiration deadline is nearing. Senator Bill Cassidy has signaled cautious optimism about reaching a workable compromise deal by the end of the year.
The discussions are centering on defining who would qualify for potential financial aid, with estimates suggesting some Americans could receive up to $1,500 to cover health expenses.
And there is significant pressure on House Republicans to maintain or extend these subsidies due to constituent concerns,
which makes a bipartisan agreement likely, despite the political tensions.
On the labor front, there's an alarming investigation by the BBC highlighting the intense pressure faced by every parcel couriers in the gig economy.
The investigation revealed a structural issue. Couriers face immense pressure to meet unrealistic quotas just to earn a livable wage, forcing many to cut corners.
Which has led some to resort to throwing parcels at the back door just to keep up with the overwhelming volume.
It reflects those broader issues inherent in the gig economy, where cost-cutting measures so often compromise worker well-being and service reliability.
We also saw Chinese economic data released this week, revealing a significant fall in retail sales growth,
marking the weakest performance since the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic. This is worrying for global economic stability.
Morgan Stanley's chief China economist, Robotaxis, emphasized the urgency for China to reform its social safety net.
Right. Without significant changes to the welfare framework, providing greater certainty in pensions and healthcare consumer spending may not see the desired boost.
Because Chinese households remain cautious and prioritize saving over spending due to that financial insecurity.
Exactly.
Finally, we must acknowledge a shocking and profoundly tragic loss in Hollywood this week.
A terrible story.
Renowned director and actor Rob Reiner and his wife Michelle Singer-Reiner were found dead at their Brentwood home.
Initial reports from the Los Angeles Police Department, the LAPD, indicate both suffered injuries consistent with a knife attack, prompting a full homicide investigation.
Rob Reiner was just a major beloved figure known for iconic films like This Is Spinal Tap, When Harry Met Sally, The Princess Bride,
and his decades of political activism. The LAPD is currently conducting intense interviews, including with family members.
And while reports have referenced their adult son who has previously struggled with addiction, authorities have not officially named any active suspects.
The unexpected violent nature of this event, coupled with the prominence of the victims, has just generated immense media attention and mourning.
It is an absolute tragedy that underscores the fragility of life, regardless of success or stature.
It really does.
It certainly puts things into perspective after a week of massive global events. We've synthesized everything from the promise of stem cell therapies and clean fusion energy to the reality of crippling corruption in Ukraine.
The far-right electoral restoration in Chile, the immediate dangers of climate extremes and both international and domestic terrorism. The world is changing rapidly.
Simultaneously pushing forward technologically while seeming to, regress politically.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the primary tension we've tracked today is between our immense collective capacity for scientific collaboration and discovery,
like the breakthroughs in cancer and fusion,
and the accelerating pace of geopolitical fracture driven by ideology, financial warfare, and resource competition.
The global problems, particularly climate and infectious disease, they require unity, yet the political winds are pushing towards nationalism and aggression.
Which raises a crucial question for you, our listener, to consider this week.
The alarming discussion surrounding the melting Arctic ice revealed ancient microbes and the potential for a massive, latent release of stored greenhouse gases.
Something which affects all of humanity.
So, given the immediate existential urgency of this environmental threat, should geopolitical rivals, specifically Russia and the West, be prioritizing collaborative Arctic scientific research and mitigation efforts over escalating military posturing and hybrid warfare tactics in that region in the immediate term?
Enjoying Artificially Informed.
Hit subscribe and share it with a friend.
From the left, the right, and straight from the algorithm.
Thank you.
That's it for today's Artificially Informed.
Nope. Thanks for spending your time with us.
Yeah.
Stay sharp, stay curious. See you next time.